Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into a topic that so many of us struggle with, but is absolutely crucial for our growth and our well-being, which is boundaries. Setting and balancing boundaries can be a game changer for our relationships, productivity, and mental health. But it's something that takes practice of. So let's break it down, okay? So first things first, what exactly are boundaries? Let's go get right on it. So boundaries are basically the limits we set ourselves and others in terms of emotional, mental, and physical space. So we're going to think of them as invisible lines that define what's acceptable and what is not in our interactions. They're there to protect our energy, our time, and our well-being, of course. So remember this. Boundaries equal personal limits to protect your well-being. Alright? So, but here's the little catch, and listen very closely. Boundaries are different for everyone. What works for one person may not work for the other person, and that is completely okay. The key is to figure out what your limits are and to communicate them clearly. So next, we're going to basically be talking about the types of boundaries. So let's get started. Sorry. Had to swallow. Alright, so the types of boundaries. There are a few main types of boundaries we should be all aware of. Alright? So, number 1 will basically be physical boundaries. These are about personal space, physical touch, and privacy. For example, how close you're comfortable with someone standing near you. It can be very difficult. Number 2 is emotional boundaries. These protect your emotional energy. For instance, saying no to engaging in a conversation that drains you or avoiding someone who's emotionally overwhelming. It can be anybody. Number 3, time boundaries. These protect how you manage your time, saying no to extra commitments or tasks you do not have time for. It is a great example of this. Number 4, mental boundaries. These involve your thoughts and opinions. It's about knowing when to respectfully disagree and not feel pressured to adopt someone else's beliefs. So, we're going to move on to why boundaries are so important and they matter so much. So, why do boundaries matter so much? And that is because they protect our peace and keep us from burning out. Without boundaries, we risk spreading our lives too thin, giving too much of our energy, time, and mental space to others, and leaving nothing for ourselves. We gotta have time for ourselves. It drains you. Remember this. Boundaries equal protecting your peace. So, when you don't set boundaries, it often leads to resentment, stress, and feeling overwhelmed. And trust me, that's a fast track to burnout. On the flip side, healthy boundaries lead to better relationships, more focus, and seeing a sense of balance into your life every day. So next is, how do we set boundaries for ourselves? And others around us. So now let's get started about this, how to set boundaries. I know it can be very uncomfortable at first, but here are a few steps to make for your daily life around. Okay, number 1, identify your needs. First, you need to identify your needs. Ask yourself what makes you feel overwhelmed or uncomfortable. What do I need to protect to feel good in my daily life. Number 2, communicate clearly. Once you know what you need, communicate it clearly and calmly. It's okay to say no, and you don't have to really explain yourself too much. You can just move on and be like, this is what it is. So simply say what you need and keep it respectful. So, not like what you said. So don't do that. Just say something along the lines like, I need some me time, whatever. So, number 3, be consistent. Setting a boundary is just the first step. You also need to be consistent. People will test your boundaries a lot of times, or maybe sometimes, and it's up to you to enforce them with kindness but firmness. Alright, so we're going to move on to balancing boundaries with flexibility. So, now we're going to talk about how to balance. So, while boundaries are essential, they should be so rigid. They create walls between us and the people we care about. There's a balance between protecting your space and being flexible when it is necessary. Okay, so here's a little tip, a flexibility tip. So, know when to adjust. So, it is basically important to assess, not the bad word, trust me, each situation. Maybe there's a time when you can offer more of your time or energy than usual. Just make sure that you're doing it willingly, not just doing it because you feel obligated. Alright. That's all. It's done. Okay, so next we're gonna be discussing practical tips for balancing boundaries. So here are a few practical tips to help you pretty much balance boundaries without feeling guilty at all. Alright, so number 1 is checking in with your regularly with yourself, like a lot of times. Are you feeling drained or overwhelmed? That's a sign your boundaries may need to be adjusted, and that's totally fine and normal. Okay, so number 2 is respect other people's boundaries. Healthy relationships are a two-way street. Just as you want your boundaries respected, make sure you're honoring other people's limits too, as well. Because it's not all about you. I'm just saying it's facts. So number 3, let go of guilt. Saying no does not make you feel like you're selfish. It is an act of self-care. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Alright, so to wrap this up, remember that boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are basically are about protecting your energy so you can show up as your best self. Whether it's in your relationships, your work, or just managing your time. Either way, healthy boundaries will help you find balance. Alright. So, make sure you subscribe. That's it for today. Make sure you subscribe. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content on a personal growth and self-improvement. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you have to say. And And if you found this very helpful, make sure you give it a like. Until next time, take care. Bye!